A bronze blade whistled through the humid air, aimed at Hayato's throat as the slaver screamed a war cry.
You think bronze can stop me? Witness the power that killed a god's world.
He threw his weight onto the wooden crank, and the monkey bone gears ground against each other. Blue lightning forked from the spinning copper coil, striking the raider's sword and surging into his arm. The raider's body hit the ground with a wet thud, smoke still pouring from his chest. The village fell dead silent.
No spear, no arrow. His hand spat the sky's fury. What kind of man is this?
The Sky Firebringer. As the prophecies foretold, the god returns to the jungle.
Hayato gripped the crank, his knuckles white. The chant swelled. Lightning God, lightning God, from the shadows of the tree line. Kale watched his war party break and flee, his plans in ruins.
You've only bought them days, boy. Next time I'll drown your lightning in blood.
The celebration surged around Hayato like a rising tide, yet his mind was a world away, drowning in memories.
Only days ago, I was Hayato Suzuki, an electrical engineer flying over Ecuador. Then the engine failed, and the world went black.
He saw again the jungle canopy rushing up, the sickening crunch of metal, and then the cold, silent darkness. When his eyes next opened, a tribal healer was chanting over a boy's broken body, a body that now housed his soul.
They called me spirit-touched, but I knew the truth. I had died, and this world gave me a second chance. For what? I still didn't know.
The chieftain raised his carved staff, and the jubilant noise fell to a hushed reverence. Yura spoke with the weight of prophecy.
Sky Firebringer, you have saved my people from the bronze fangs. I offer you our greatest treasure, my daughter Amara, to be your bride.
Chieftain, I am no god to claim a bride as spoils. If you would honor me, give me strong hands and minds. I will build a wall of lightning that no bronze can breach.
A murmur rippled through the crowd. But behind Yura, Amara's eyes did not fall. She stepped forward, undaunted.
I will work beside you, Sky Firebringer. If your lightning can be learned, then let me earn my place with these hands.
By dawn, Hayato led a dozen tribesmen to the river bend where the water ran red with copper sediment.
You truly believe these shining stones can hold the sky fire? They look no mightier than the flint we knap for arrows.
Copper doesn't create lightning, Amara. It simply guides it, like a river channel for an invisible current. Now, we need enough to surround the village.
Back at the village, Hayato carved monkey bone gears with painstaking precision, each tooth interlocking into a wooden frame. Amara learned to smear the sticky tree resin onto bamboo cylinders, then wrap them tight with raw copper wire. Day after sweltering day, the fence rose, a circle of wooden posts strung with gleaming copper, a web waiting for the storm. On the 8th evening, a bloodied scout stumbled through the half-finished gate, an iron slave collar still dangling from his neck.
What happened? Speak quickly.
The scout gasped. Kale has united 3 clans, 100 bronze blades. They march with the next full moon. Then his eyes went still.
The full moon is in 3 nights. Can we truly finish the wall of lightning in so short a time?
The full moon rose, and with it came the rhythmic thunder of 100 war drums from the dark jungle. Kale's warband emerged from the tree line, their bronze axes catching the moonlight, a tide of snarling flesh and metal.
Now, crank it to full speed.
The first raider threw himself onto the copper wire, and his body convulsed in a blinding blue arc before dropping, smoke trailing from his mouth. A second and third followed, their bronze weapons conducting the lightning through their own flesh, the fence singing with death.
The generator, it's overheating. The resin insulation is melting.
Hayato's crimson eyes reflected the erratic blue arcs as his palms blistered against the crank, forcing it faster.
Hayato, your hands!
The raiders broke, dragging their fallen into the night. Kale screamed from the tree line, "This isn't over, witch boy." When Hayato finally released the crank, the skin of his palms came off with it. The tribe stared with a new, terrified reverence. The The burns on Hayato's hands took a week to scab over, but by the time the new arc lamp lit the village square, his mind had already raced ahead.
Kale won't stop. He'll return with more clans. We can't stand alone. We need every tribe between the river and the mountains.
The Serpent People and the Rock Shelter clan have never bowed to outsiders. They will not come just because you call.
Still, runners left at dawn with gifts of smoked meat and a single copper coil, a token of the lightning that had struck down the raiders. When the council finally gathered under the great thatched roof, 6 chieftains sat across from Hayato, their faces masks of stone.
I don't ask you to bow. I ask you to see. The bronze fangs will not stop at our borders. Alone, we are prey. Together, we are a storm.
A chieftain with serpent scale tattoos rose, slamming a bronze dagger onto the floor. Prove your power without killing, or leave. Hayato walked to the central fire pit and raised a torch of dried reeds. Then he slowly brought his fingers together, and a small blue spark jumped. The spark caught the oil-soaked head, and the torch roared to life. The serpent chieftain sat back down, his dagger forgotten. By sunset, 6 chieftains had pledged their spears. Only the Rock Shelter clan remained silent, refusing the call. But it was enough. With the tribes united, Hayato turned his mind to the world beyond the jungle. He began constructing a device to catch voices on the wind.
A crystal receiver. If I can vibrate a quartz sliver with the right frequency, I might hear what the copper coils sing.
For weeks, he wound copper wires through bamboo frames, shaving a quartz crystal to a needlepoint, while warriors trained outside. Then, in the dead of night, the bamboo earpieces crackled with static, a hiss like a distant waterfall.
There, a voice, barely there. A language I know, but not from this place.
He adjusted the crystal cat's whisker, and through the static, a man's voice intoned, Costa Noroeste, Indígenas Hostiles.
Spanish. That's impossible, but this world has its own Spain?
The voice spoke of mapping the coast, of heathen tribes and subjugation. A chill colder than the jungle night seized him.
So it's not just Bronze Age slavers. There are conquerors with gunpowder out there, and they're coming this way.
He said nothing to the celebrating tribes, but his eyes never left the dark forest after that. Over the next nights, Hayato refused sleep, fine-tuning the crystal and adding a coiled copper aerial that climbed the highest kapok tree.
Tonight, the signal is stronger. The voice, it's giving orders.
Then, clear as a musket shot, the words came, Capitán Rodrigo, al oeste del río, someter a los paganos.
A full expedition, with muskets and steel, and they are marching west of the river, toward us.
At first light, he summoned Amara and Yura. In the chief's hut, he unrolled a piece of bark with the translated words.
What I say now must not leave this fire. A new enemy comes, not with bronze, but with fire tubes that kill from afar.
Is this another vision from the sky? Lightning God?
No vision. I heard their war leader's voice through my copper web. He called us pagans to be broken.
Then we will fight. You will forge more lightning and I will stand beside you. Whatever comes.
Hayato looked at them both, his jaw set. I will build a weapon, but I need to go where the mountain touches the clouds. Hayato climbed the forbidden peak alone, the air crackling against his skin with every step.
Copper veins hum with natural charge. This whole mountain is a lightning trap waiting to be sprung.
He pressed his palm to the stone, a blue spark snapping between his fingers. The static was overwhelming.
A giant Leyden jar. Store enough charge to call down lightning. Madness, but it might just work.
Oblivious to the world, he scratched diagrams in the dirt with a stick, engineering and desperation merging into a weapon of myth.
You said the mountain, not oblivion. The elders whisper you've angered the spirits up here.
I am birthing a storm, Amara. A coil as big as a hut charged by friction. This peak will spit lightning.
Then I'll carry the copper, guard the secret. You are not doing this alone.
He hesitated, but her eyes held a fire no lightning could match. He nodded. They descended together, the plan sealed between them, the peak humming its electric promise above. Days blurred into a fever of labor. Select warriors hauled massive copper coils up the sacred path under cover of night.
Careful with those Leyden jars. The copper foil inside must be smooth. Any wrinkle will leak the charge.
A misplaced step sent rocks tumbling. The tunnel collapsed inward, swallowing 2 men whole and burying the main coil under tons of rubble.
The mountain is fighting us. We lost the wire and good men. This is madness, Hayato.
That same night, the radio crackled back to life. The signal was stronger and clearer. The translated words cut like a blade. Rodrigo's expedition lands at the river delta in 60 suns.
2 months. That's all the time we have before the world crashes down on us.
Then we dig faster, sleep less. I won't let my father's land become a graveyard.
This mountain will become the anvil where we forge a god's fury. I swear it on my second life.
The weapon was still only a skeleton, but the countdown had begun. The mountain's hum grew louder each night. 60 suns passed faster than a drawn blade. At the river delta, 3 towering galleons anchored, their sails emblazoned with a foreign crest. Captain Rodrigo himself led the first scouting party ashore, his polished steel reflecting the relentless sun. Within an hour, they had captured a lone tribesman, a youth from the Rock Shelter clan. Under torch and blade, he gave up the location of the sacred mountain. That night, the ultimatum arrived at the council fire, tied to an arrow. Surrender your villages and your false god, or burn with the jungle.
Chieftains, for weeks, I have kept a dark secret from you. These are not raiders, they are an army from across the sea, armed with weapons that can kill a man before you reach him. But I have built a weapon in the sacred mountain, a trap of lightning that will swallow them if you trust me.
A serpent-scale chieftain scoffed. More lightning tricks. We should vanish into the deep forest where their metal cannot follow.
Run, and you will be hunted season after season. Stand with the lightning god, and we end this forever.
We offer them a false surrender. Lead them into the valley beneath the sacred peak. And then, I will unleash the fury of 1,000 storms.
One by one, the chieftains raised their spears. Yura's voice was the final seal. It shall be done, Skyfire Bringer. Through the final nights, Hayato and Amara worked in the mountain's belly, connecting the last copper coil to the summit grid.
Is it truly ready? If the Skyfire does not answer, we die for nothing.
One small test. We send a spark up the mountain's spine and see if the heavens answer.
He threw a smaller switch. A weak current snaked up the copper grid. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then a lightning bolt slammed into the peak, shattering rock.
It works, but the full charge will be 1,000 times that. The mountain itself might fall on whoever triggers it.
Trigger it? You mean someone must stay inside? Why not from the village?
The lever must be pulled when the conquistadors are exactly in position. From here, I can see the valley. From the village, I'd be blind.
Then let me stay. I can pull a lever as well as you.
Number, if I die, the knowledge of this machine dies with me. But the people must survive to carry our memory. That is my duty.
The weapon was complete. But as they descended the mountain for the last time, the silence was heavier than stone. At dawn, Yura and the Council of Chieftains walked unarmed into the conquistador camp. Their feathered headdresses bowed.
Great Captain, we see now the folly of resisting your thundersticks. We bring gifts of smoked meat and copper, and pledge our obedience.
Fitting. Your false god hides, but sensible men know their place. You will lead us to your sacred valley for a ceremony of submission.
The column formed, conquistadors in gleaming steel, soldiers in leather, and the chieftains walking at the front like prisoners, hidden in the brush. Kale watched the farce unfold, his scarred face twisted in confusion, then fury.
Spineless worms. They'd never bow without a knife hidden. The lightning brat has a plan.
He scrambled down a deer trail, intercepting the column. Kale threw himself before Rodrigo, arms spread.
Great Lord, it's a trap. The Lightning Boy has a machine in the mountain that calls down the sky's fire. The valley is a killing ground.
A machine that throws lightning? You are a fool as well as a savage. Take him for the slave ships.
The column resumed its march, the sacred valley widening before them. High on the peak, Hayato watched through a crevice and gripped the lever. Through the crevice, Hayato saw the conquistadors spread across the valley floor, muskets glinting, their captain stepping forward. Rodrigo's voice echoed up the cliff. "Where is this lightning god? Bring him forth to kneel before me." Yura raised a feathered staff, the signal. Hayato's hands closed on the crank, and the generator began to whine.
The charge needs time. If I fire too early, it will only singe them. A few more seconds.
The copper coils hummed, blue arcs dancing. The mountain peak flickered with gathering power. A sharp crack. A musket ball ricocheted off the rocks near the crevice. A soldier had spotted a figure on the ridge, Amara. She had stayed on a lower ledge, a spear in hand, to watch his back. The soldier aimed his musket directly at her. Hayato's heart seized.
If I pull the lever now, the charge isn't full, but if I wait, she dies.
The coils screamed, the charge nearly ready. The soldier's finger tightened on the trigger. The musket roared. Amara dropped flat, the ball severing the copper grid wire behind her in a shower of sparks.
A direct path. The grid is complete, now.
He threw his weight onto the master lever. The mountain's stored fury surged upward. A blinding bolt split the sky, forking down into the valley, like the wrath of a forgotten god. It struck the grid and multiplied, a dozen blue tongues lancing into the heart of the conquistador formation. The ground convulsed. Trees shattered. Men in steel collapsed, steam hissing from their seared lungs. Horses screamed and threw their riders, the animals' manes ablaze with static fire. The mountain peak blazed like a newborn star, the generators shriek, drowning even the thunder.
It's working. The valley is an inferno.
Then, as abruptly as it began, the lightning ceased. The valley lay silent, shrouded in smoke and the crackle of flames. As the smoke cleared, the valley floor was a graveyard of molten steel and charred earth. The conquistador formation had ceased to exist. Where Captain Rodrigo had stood, a single blackened crater remained. The steel of his breastplate fused to the sizzling rock. Scattered survivors threw down weapons and fled, their screams swallowed by the crackle of 1,000 small fires. High in the mountain, Hayato tasted dust. A deep tremor shook the cavern as the generator's frame buckled.
The discharge cracked the peak. The whole mountain is coming down.
A section of the ceiling collapsed, obliterating the lever console. The main coil tore free in a shower of sparks. He turned and sprinted for the crevice, the tunnel groaning as the mountain's ancient bones began to shatter. He burst onto the outer ledge, just as the passage behind him sealed with a grinding crash. He looked back. The sacred peak was splitting, a glowing fracture snaking down its flank as lightning still flickered in the clouds.
Amara, I have to find her before the whole thing buries us.
Hayato staggered down a shale slope, every muscle screaming, one arm dangling uselessly at his side.
Ayato,
You are alive. The mountain didn't take you.
She caught him before he collapsed, pulling his good arm over her shoulder, her spear clattering forgotten. Yura emerged from the jungle with the chieftains, their faces ashen as they saw the smoldering valley.
The sky fire devoured them, all of them. What you have done, lightning god.
The mountain is dying. We need to leave.
4 warriors lifted him on a makeshift litter of branches and hide, his body limp from exhaustion.
don't you dare close your eyes, Boltbringer. Not after all this.
They descended toward the villages, but behind them, the mountain's glow painted the sky, an angry violet, a myth already being born. For 7 suns, Hayato drifted in fever, his dreams crackling with blue fire and collapsing mountains.
You kept mumbling about voltage and circuits. Strange words, Boltbringer.
When he could finally stand, the village had transformed. Shamans had already begun painting the cave walls. They mixed berry ink and clay, depicting a figure of spiked hair with lightning bolts in his hands, standing over broken foreign soldiers.
The tale of the thunderclap has already crossed the mountains. Tribes who once hid now send emissaries.
They see a god, but I am just an engineer who didn't want to see more people die.
Fireside. The children acted out the battle, one boy cranking a stick, others falling dramatically.
You gave them hope. That is no small thing.
Hope is fragile. I need to teach them. The fence, the radio, so when I'm gone, they don't forget.
He looked at the sacred mountain, its peak still glowing faintly, a permanent throne for the legend. The mornings became a school. Hayato gathered the brightest young warriors around the generator, his hands still bandaged.
This gear multiplies your cranking force. If it cracks, you carve another from monkey bone, exactly this shape.
You speak as if you won't always be here to fix it yourself.
One day I might not be. That's why they must learn.
In the quiet of the evenings, he worked a scrap of copper into a small ring, smoothing it with resin until it gleamed.
Amara, this is a custom from my world. A promise, not a demand.
A promise, then I accept. But in my world, a gift must be answered with one.
She slipped the ring onto her finger, then pressed her forehead to his, a tribal gesture deeper than any words.
I never thought I'd find this again. A place to belong.
The next day, a boy struggled with the crank. Hayato knelt beside him, guiding his tiny hands. Years flowed. Coastal tribes whispered of a shore where the sky killed any armored man who dared land. Conquistador maps marked this coast. Thunderclap Bay, god of lightning, sleeps. His reflection in the river showed gray-streaked hair and eyes that had seen too much.
The children crank the generator without me. The radio hums with distant villages. My work is done.
At harvest, they danced before the enshrined generator, copper coils polished by generations of reverent hands. The sacred mountain still glowed at night, a silent guardian over a peaceful land.
You've grown quiet. Do you miss the storms?
I miss nothing. The storm is asleep.
He watched her teach a young girl to send a radio signal, her ring glinting like a captured star.
I came here a dead man, but I hope they remember these hands, not just the lightning.
Beneath the thatched council hall, every tribe gathered for the first time without war. Hayato ascended the stone altar. Amara placed a crown of woven copper wire on his brow, the metal cold against his graying temple.
I am no god. I never was. The lightning you saw was science, knowledge from another world.
The crowd rustled, but a young girl shouted, "Then teach us this magic. That is why we crown you, teacher."
Yes, I will give you all of it. Electricity, radio, machines. Not as a god's decree, but as a man's promise.
Yura raised his ancient staff, his voice cracking with age but carrying the final seal. Let it be written. The age of lightning has begun. The generator that had killed the first raider stood on the altar, enshrined in polished wood, a relic and a beacon. Amara's hand found his, the copper ring meeting his palm. Neither spoke. The drums thundered.
This is not the world I was born into, but it is the one I saved.
The legend of the thunderclap would echo for 1,000 years. But in that moment, only the dancing mattered. Centuries turned the jungle into a green sea. Villages vanished, but the memory refused to drown. A machete flashed through the foliage, revealing a rusted copper coil and a wooden crank half swallowed by roots. The explorer knelt, brushing earth from the monkey bone gears that still held their shape after 1,000 years. On the cliff above, the stone god's chiseled eyes stared out, its lightning bolts still proud against the sky. Faded glyphs on the altar spoke of a stormbringer who turned copper into fire and the sky into a weapon. High above, the sacred mountain's peak still shimmered with a faint, unexplained glow. By the river, children still played with crank toys, their laughter echoing the words of a man who refused to be a god. A single macaw feather, bright and defiant, drifted from the statue's stone grip, It spiraled to rest on the ancient crank, bridging a legend and the earth with a feather's weight, and the jungle kept its peace, as the storm had promised 1,000 years before. The man who fell from a silver bird and woke in a boy's body had become a myth whispered in 1,000 tongues. A single macaw feather, bright and defiant, rested where his stone hand once crackled with borrowed storm. A man from another world brought lightning to the jungle and was crowned a god, but in truth, he was only ever a man who refused to let the dark win. And so the jungle remembers not a deity, but the heartbeat of an engineer who chose to make a difference. His story is carved in copper, sung in raindrops, and danced by every crank that still sparks. The feather still lies there, a quiet testament to love and loss and the gift of a second life. And the sun rises over Thunderclap Bay once more, its light touching the waters that once swallowed a fleet. The myth lives. The storm is asleep. The man has become legend, and that is enough.